Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now Dillian Whyte has explained he does not need to beat Alexander Povetkin to warrant him having a fight with Deontay Wilder. This is what he had to say. I don't need to beat Povetkin to fight Deontay Wilder. The only thing Deontay Wilder held was the heavyweight championship of the world. He wasn't a big draw, he wasn't a big ticket seller, he wasn't even selling out arenas in America, and he's American. So he wasn't a big draw, he just had the belt, and he lost the belt. So now he's got nothing. So there we go, that is what Dillian Whyte has explained about Deontay Wilder. And Wilder himself is actually coming off of a loss against Tyson Fury, as we know. And Dillian Whyte lost his last fight to Alexander Povetkin. Now the difference is, Dillian Whyte is taking his rematch with Povetkin. Wilder is not taking his rematch with Tyson Fury, for whatever reason. There is of course a comeback route plotted for Wilder, which is potentially a Charles Martin fight, although there are rumours he's priced himself out of that contest, so maybe that won't happen. But there was kind of this big thing being touted for the end of the year between Wilder and Whyte, mainly by Eddie Hearn and a little bit by Dillian Whyte himself. They were talking about beating Povetkin, then move on to Deontay Wilder after beating Povetkin if he is able to do so. But it is the belief of Dillian Whyte that he would not need to beat Alexander Povetkin to warrant a fight with Deontay Wilder, because Wilder is not of the level to say that he's ahead of Dillian Whyte, even if his last fight was a loss, because Wilder's last fight was also a loss, and he's not a big ticket seller, he's not a big draw, he just had the heavyweight championship of the world, and that was his kind of claim to fame, I guess. That is what Dillian Whyte is kind of getting at by saying that. So he does not rate Deontay Wilder, so therefore Dillian Whyte does not need to warrant having that fight by getting a victory in his next fight. Now, he's not necessarily looking beyond Alexander Povetkin towards Deontay Wilder, but still, that fight is always going to be there because there is Needle from the past. So that is a big fight no matter what happens. Deontay Wilder needs to get back in the ring because he's not fighting Dillian Whyte coming off of a loss. I would be hard pressed to say whether Wilder would actually fight Dillian Whyte coming off of a win. So even if he got back in there with, say, Charles Martin, then the Dillian Whyte fight later this year, is that a possibility? I'm not entirely sure. What is the kind of motivation for Wilder? We haven't really heard that. We've heard, I want to fight Joshua, I want to fight Tyson Fury again, Andy Ruiz, and he did speak about Dillian Whyte before. But there is no comeback route. There is seemingly no urgency to get back in the ring from Deontay Wilder. So the big question is, will we actually ever see Wilder back in the ring again? That is definitely a big question because, as I said, it doesn't seem like anything is moving forward for him at the moment. I hope he doesn't retire. I want to see him in fights with Ruiz, Dillian Whyte, although I don't believe that Dillian Whyte should take the Deontay Wilder fight after Alexander Povetkin. I would like him to, but if you look at it from Whyte's perspective, should he take that fight? Because look at it from this perspective. Whyte has fought top contenders back to back, and he has taken risks when he's been number one in the WBC. And Alexander Povetkin was one risk too far. If he didn't fight Povetkin and waited, he would be fighting at Tyson Fury now, not AJ. So there is definitely that thing where Dillian Whyte has risked it, and that was one risk too far against Povetkin. If he beats Povetkin, he becomes a WBC Interim World Championship once again. So next year, he will get a chance to fight the champion. He is 33-34, so he does want to be getting a world title opportunity pretty soon, because let's remember, he still hasn't even fought for a world championship. So that must be on the list for Dillian Whyte. Does he want to say, beat Povetkin if he is able to, then risk Wilder before getting a world title opportunity? I know that he believes he can handle himself in there with Deontay Wilder, but that right hand, all it takes is one of them. So does he really want to risk that? And on the other hand, does Deontay Wilder really want to risk fighting Dillian Whyte? Because if he loses that, then it's going to be hard enough for him to come back after Tyson Fury mentally. Losing to Dillian Whyte, that could spell the end for Deontay Wilder. Not necessarily literally, because I believe that 2 losses, 3 losses doesn't mean all that much. You can still continue, but that would definitely damage the psyche of a Deontay Wilder. So you would have to wonder whether he would come back after losing a fight like that. So maybe the fight won't happen anyway, but still, I believe that Dillian Whyte shouldn't take the fight, but I believe he will, and I do want to see that fight. But if you look at it from him getting a world title opportunity, he should beat Povetkin if he can, which I believe he can do, but I believe that he should get that fight won. Then he needs to start thinking about himself and getting a world title opportunity next year, because he definitely will get one if he is a WBC interim champion, and all of the belts are going to be tied up for the duration of this year, but next year mandatories will come, and Dillian Whyte should be one of them. So he does need to start thinking about that, more so than just big fights, which are incredible, and I'm glad he does think like that, but at some point he does have to think of himself and think if he wants to have a world title opportunity, he does need to get towards that, and these big fight occasions, he needs to put those into the world title opportunity, not necessarily have them without a world title on the line, especially if that is his ambition to become a world champion. Now guys, moving on, there is a situation with Teofimo Lopez and Top Rank. This is what he had to say. We're going to meet up with a lawyer this week. I see myself, this fight or next, I'll be a free agent. There's so much proof for me to get out of this contract. They gave me the golden ticket. Todd DeBoof gave me the golden ticket. So what he is speaking about there is Todd DeBoof actually wrote to DAZN or emailed them and asked them not to put in a bid for the Teofimo Lopez and Kambosos fight, because obviously that is a mandatory that went to purse bids, so basically the highest bidder gets the fight if a deal is not made in a certain amount of time. Bob Arum and Top Rank actually bid for the fight, and Eddie Hearn bid for the fight also, but Triller ended up getting it for what was 6 million, I believe. So there was a situation where I'm not exactly sure whether they asked them not to bid for it or whether they said they were displeased that they had bid for it. I think it was that one actually. They were displeased that they had bid for the fight, which is kind of opened up to everyone. It's a purse bid, so the highest bidder gets the fight. It doesn't matter who they are, they get the fight. And there is definitely no reason for anyone to go to someone else and say you should not be bidding, or we are unhappy because you did. Triller actually got it. I mean, Eddie Hearn and DAZN didn't even get to stage the fight because their bid was outbid by Triller by what, 2.5 million? So they couldn't get the fight, so what's the problem? That is a rival of course, and maybe they don't see Triller as a direct rival to them in the sport of boxing, but it is kind of strange. Definitely some rivalry there, and maybe a bit of bitterness that DAZN are moving into the US market, or have been for the last couple of years. They definitely are getting closer, and that is definitely something also that Top Rank and ESPN probably have their eyes on, so they don't want their fighters going over and fighting on DAZN, regardless of whether it is best for that fighter himself. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and a subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.